Okay, well, this is becoming an annual tradition, and it's my list of favorite perennials. Perennials, I think, are bulletproof, that are reliable, that garden right along with me, and, well, they make a commitment to me and to the garden. So let's go through that list. What do you say? Okay, so number one on my list is Penstemon Digitalis. This variety is Husker Red. And what I love about it is it's a true perennial and it will come back from the roots year after year. But what I also love about it is even if that might die back, that root mass might die back, it does go to seed reliably. And for me, not in and that's hard for me to say, an obnoxious way, but in a very wonderful way. And you can see some of it has gone to seed in other parts of my garden. And you can tell it's what it is because of its distinctly purpley red foliage. And I think it's really beautiful. And I've got it in different places of my garden. If I don't want it there, I can easily pull it up. But I do want it because it's absolutely beautiful. As I said, it's reliable. It does want good drainage. So you'll notice that I've got it here kind of a little bit on this slope, but it is drought tolerant. It's a great performer. And well, let's just say it commits to me and I commit to it. And make sure to watch to the end of the video because we're going to give you a comprehensive list of all of these plants with their plant name and growing characteristics that you can print out and put in your garden journal. Okay, number two is also a Penstemon. It's Brazos Penstemon, named after, believe the Brazos River in Texas, and it was gifted to me by a follower. This is a much more romantic variety of Penstemon. The flowers are pinky-lilac and very, very frothy and romantic. I've got a lot of it growing here. It will also go to seed pretty reliably, and I let it go anywhere at once because it is absolutely so beautiful. Interestingly, Penstemons are a perennial that I really didn't grow much at my other house, but boy, they have been indispensable here. They are tough, they are reliable, and I can really feel confident that they will come back year after year, handle our heat, handle some drought, and well, they're just good performers as far as perennials go. Okay, another plant that I really didn't grow that much at the other house, but I absolutely adore it here at the cottage, and that is that Salvia East Friesland. There are different varieties that I think perform almost as well. There's May Night, and there's another variety that's new to me that I saw when I was in Europe, and that is Salvia Cara, Donna, and I'm going to be looking for it because it's really, really dramatic. The stems are a really deep hue, and I just think it could be another really great companion to some of the things that I like to grow here and in those kind of distinctively English colors because this is an English cottage garden after all. So I love it. You can see how it's growing in clumps at a number of different places. By the way, it is about 2 weeks early blooming now. I don't know that typically it blooms accompanying the tulips, but nevertheless, I'm glad it did because other things, because of the drought and because of our wacky weather, things just aren't growing. But this salvia, it is. It will also go to seed I find it goes to seed almost aggressively, though it doesn't necessarily have that reputation. But if it does, that's fine with me because I have gifted it to so many different people and moved it around in different places of the garden that, well, it's reliable. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And gosh, do I love that color. Okay, now another one on my list that I'm trying to incorporate more of here at the cottage is Phlox Paniculada. It's a tall, fragrant, summer blooming phlox. If you give it really good air circulation or you plant varieties that are less prone to powdery mildew, I think it's really a great addition to your summer garden. So right here, I got this from White Flower Farm, some David Phlox Paniculata. And you can see here that I've pinched it back so that I will get double the blooms. And that's what I try to do once it starts erupting from the soil in the spring. You can see I have pinched that one back, and I've pinched this back. This will bloom in white, and I've got some others, I think it's called Bright Eyes, that will bloom in kind of a pinky white, and I think it's beautiful. Now, quite often you see the old-fashioned variety that's that, kind of a purpurea color, kind of a pinky, purple. It's hard to describe, kind of a fuchsia color. It blooms great, and it is tough as the dickens, but it is very subject to powdery mildew. This, I find, is not quite as subject to it, but I really like the fact that if I keep it deadheaded and maintain it over time, that it will continue to grow and the clump will get larger over time, and then I can spread it around. So another perennial that I used to grow at the other house, but here, I don't know, I'm just trying some different varieties that I like a little bit better, that I think are a little bit more mannerly, and because I just periodically like to change things up. But don't forget that tip to pinch it back this time of year so you have double or triple the blooms later in the season. Okay, and a comment about the old house versus the new house, or the fairy tale house versus the cottage on the hill, the storybook cottage. We have, because it can be confusing to people, a lot of times it's helpful for me to allude to images or anecdotes from the previous house so I can show you what something looks like in its maturity, because still here, lots of things are not mature. But sometimes I'll get comments or whatever, Linda, that's confusing to me. Well, there's kind of no way around it if you haven't followed the channel for a long time. But what we did do, if you are new to this channel, or if you are old to this channel and really miss the fairy tale house, then we have started a whole new separate channel from this one. That is, did we call it the fairy tale house channel? That is nothing but old house videos. So you can go back, especially if you're kind of wanting to see my journey, my garden pilgrimage over time. You can go back and watch those from the very, very beginning and see how the channel has evolved over time. But there will be two channels. One will be the fairy tale channel, fairy tale house channel, and then Linda Vater Fairy Tale House, and then this will just be our regular channel. So that might be helpful to you as a reference point for what was in the past and what is here in the present. And Stuart just told me it's called the Linda Vater Fairy Tale House channel. So that might help you if you are trying to search for it. Okay, now this is just an old reliable. Just love this plant. This is Sedum Autumn Joy. There's all sorts of different kinds of sedums out there, sometimes called stone crop. Some of them are small-leaved, some of them are large-leaved. But I have found that of all of them, still the most reliable is Sedum Autumn Joy. As I've told you before, it's so easy to propagate. You just basically break off a piece and stick it in the soil, and that's what I've done in other areas of the garden where I want it to spread. I think it's beautiful. I love I love the blue-green foliage. It makes a great cut flower. It's just so versatile. If you want to give starts as little gifts to a lot of different people, then all you have to do is just stick this in a pot and it will make a darling little clump. And I love it this time of year when it first starts to come out, because it is in that kind of clumpy stage. Make sure to give it enough sun so it doesn't get too tall and leggy, but just enjoy it all year round into summer, and then in late summer when it puts out those kind of flat umbrella shaped beautiful flowers that I think speak to the late summer season. Gorgeous, reliable, easy to propagate. You almost can't kill it, and as you can see, I heartily recommend it. Another thing you might want to record in your garden journal, and we will put a link to my garden journal right here, is which of these really look good right next to one another. So they look good in the garden together, they would look good in a vase together, because their colors really complement one another. Kind of a tone-on-tone thing. So right here you can see a small clump of this East Friesland, actually 1, 2, 3, 4 small clumps of East Friesland Salvia that went to seed in here right next to my next recommendation, and this is scabiosa. I think it is just so dear. It's also called Pincushion flower. There are different varieties that are subtly different colors. This one is this beautiful kind of lilac. It is, I think, very reliable, and it comes back year after year. There are some new varieties that have huge flowers with really gorgeous seed heads. And by the way, that's another thing I think to commend it. The seed heads are really interesting and make a nice sweet cut flower in their own right. But I've got it planted in drifts all up and down the walkway in the front yard. As long as I keep it deadheaded, it will keep on giving. I like the delicacy of the foliage. I like the delicacy of the flower, and boy, butterflies like it too. Well, my next recommendation is one that I really need to have more of in my garden. I have had a lot of it at my other house. For some reason, I just don't have as much here, and that is purple coneflower, a native to Oklahoma, loved by pollinators, by insect wildlife. I think it looks gorgeous in a cottage garden setting. It is tough. It makes a great cut flower, and parenthetically, it grows naturally on the prairie with liatris. I've seen it down at the Wichita Mountains. You may know liatris as gay feather, or that kind of it just looks like a purple pole flower. It's really beautiful, planted in tandem together. I think it's a great combo. I have some purple coneflower here, but not as much. So I'm going to be planting more of it. I think it especially looks pretty in tandem with things like the kaleidoscope abelia and the orange rocket barberry. In the fall, it's really beautiful. It's one of those things that grows late in the summer to give that late summer interest that's sometimes hard to get. And well, that is just my recommended planting. Plant some barberry, kaleidoscope abelia, purple coneflower, and liatris for a really nice combo, durable, bulletproof combo. Okay, this time of year, I find I spend as much time on my hands and knees as I do upright in the garden, because I'm always looking to see what stuff has gone to seed and kind of what's growing and what's not growing. One thing that I've noticed is coming up over here is my next recommendation, and that is a patch of asters. As it grows, I will keep kind of shearing it back to delay its bloom. I really don't want it to bloom until late summer, early fall, but it is tough. There are so many different varieties. Many are native to Oklahoma, but it's beautiful. It's got a tiny daisy-like little bloom. It makes a good cut flower. It's got a certain kind of sweetness, I think, that is very important to the cottage garden. And again, it's one of those that blooms when a lot of other things are not in bloom. So put asters on your list. They are easy to grow. They are adaptable. They're drought tolerant. They can handle heat. Well, what's not to love?